Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today is October 2, 2024. Want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today with Mark Leckey. Where in the heck you calling in from, Mark?
I'm calling in from London in the United Kingdom.
How cool is that? First question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
What is the best thing for a human being? Wow. Oh, that's one to start with, that, Jerry, isn't it? I mean, the pat answer is love, right? That's
Yeah.
and I do believe that. I do believe that. There's been times in my life without love, and I hated it. So, love is definitely nourishing and necessary. I don't know. I'd have to speak about the moment, I guess. I think it's knowledge. I'll go for knowledge.
Wow. Well, first of all, that's the answer I get the most is love. And a
Yeah.
homeless dude right here in Venice Beach, his name's Eden Abe. He was a proto hippie. He wrote the ultimate line about that subject, love and knowledge. He said the greatest thing you'll ever learn is to love and be loved in return. It's
I
amazing. And there you
completely
said
concur.
knowledge. That's knowledge. So I love that. And it's a universal answer. And I always appreciate when people say it. But you added knowledge that you anticipated what we're going to go into. What's your favorite?
Can I just ask you, is that the same guy? Is that Nature Boy? Is that the same
That's
guy?
fine. You know your music, dude. I know you're a DJ. It is the guy who wrote Nature Boy. He
That's
peddled
right.
it as a hippie. He peddled it to a Hollywood club. Nat King Cole and the bouncer
Yeah.
kept going, "Get away from here." And he finally got through, and it became Nat King Cole's signature song. And everybody and their mother has done it. Coltrane, Miles Davis, Lady Gaga. It's like endless. Everybody's done it. And
Yeah.
it's an amazing song.
Yeah.
And he ripped it off from a Jewish cantor and blah blah blah. It's an amazing, it's history. My friend's making a whole documentary on it. So
Oh wow.
someday
Okay.
you can just Google him and
I'll
you'll get
Google
a lot
away.
of stuff.
Yeah,
But
I've come across them before.
it's
Yeah.
really so see you have knowledge about love. The two
Yes.
things, the two things you said. Which
They cancel each other out.
yeah, no, I think they do both. They cancel and compliment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but what's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Straight away, music.
Yeah,
Music and I guess the natural environment. And what I mean by that is like being out in, the mountains, the
yeah,
hills, the forests,
yeah,
the information I receive there.
yeah.
And the best information is to combine the two.
Amazing. Yeah, because
I
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
you're
Being
hearing.
listening to music on a walk, that's I mean, talking about knowledge,
Yeah,
that's when all my synapses just explode.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm glad you get what I'm after, Mark. We're just here to have fun, and it's funny because that's what's called biomimicry. We heard the birds singing, and then we go, "Oh, we can whistle too, like a bird."
Yeah.
And then Craig Baldwin, who we mutually know, my hero, I says, "What's your favorite form of information?" He said, "Human touch." And
Ah,
I was
okay.
like, "Holy moly!" Most people don't think a human touching you like a hug is information.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an amazing thing. So, why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Why do I think? I think I think it's both lack and um and a kind of yeah, I guess lack and desire. You could say that, couldn't you?
Yeah,
And I think the two are bound up together.
yeah,
It's want, isn't it? Want and lack.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just go for that on that one.
Is this need or want to collect information more innate or more invented?
I think it has to be in some way innate, doesn't it? It's kind of it's kind of Promethean, isn't it? In the sense that it's you're looking for something outside of yourself, but it's coming, the drives are within. Yeah, so I would say it's I don't want to keep saying both to all these answers, but
Look,
it's
it's easy, Mark. All my questions are just prompts. You don't have
yeah.
to answer the question.
Okay, all right, okay.
A lot of these at the beginning are binaries, and people go both. I was at this lecture once, and they asked people a question, and this guy goes both, and this student goes, "That's a cop out."
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
a cop out because everything is both, and it depends. It's like back to your word environment.
Yeah,
It's context. It's both. So that's why I say, is it more this or more that? And this one woman said, the word more doesn't function in your question, which is
nice.
true because I'm trying to fudge. I'm trying to cheat by going, is it more this or more that? I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to get you to commit to one or the other. You don't have
No.
to, yeah, but it is good. You know what I'm after. It's just a stimulant to
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. I just don't wanna get, I don't wanna get splinters in my ass sitting on the fence, you know what I mean? I just wanna
splintered and okay. Do thoughts create emotions?
Oh, indubitably, yeah. I mean, it's whatever I'm trying to say. Certainly, yeah. Um, the thoughts, they're inseparable, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I mean, I woke up this morning, um, very anxious and fretting, um, uh, and really couldn't fathom what was making me feel that way. Um, and then, it's like the stream of anxiety that some kind of maybe biochemical or something is then, you know, added to by, concerns that I already have. So it's like I was in this flux of um yeah, stream makes it sound pleasant.
yeah.
It
That's
wasn't.
good, but concern, you're anticipating a lot where we're gonna go. We're gonna go in that
Okay.
order, but I
Okay.
appreciate this, Mark. This is a fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what I think until um that's you know what? That's the hardest one yet. Because at the moment I'm thinking a lot about how I feel, getting back to the first answer in a way is like this idea of knowing, of knowledge, and inevitably I arrive at this point where I I I suddenly mistrust everything that I've learned.
yeah, oh, yeah, that's good.
I mean,
That's
like deeply. Um, so thinking, can you repeat the question one more time? What was the prompt?
I don't know what I think
I don't know what I think.
until I
Have it corroborated by an expert.
oh, we are so
By
similar.
someone smarter than me.
That's my I've been asking this question for 40 years, 1,000 interviews. And mine is I don't know what I think until I ask someone else what they think so I can know what I think. And you added, yeah, until I ask an expert.
Exactly, exactly.
But McLuhan says, I don't know what I think until I say it. Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it.
Yeah.
Most people are recently saying, I don't know what I think until I do it or experience it. So it
I,
is like what you said to set this up was good. You mistrust everything you learn. Fireside Theater, the comedy, the Beatles of comedy said, everything you know is wrong.
yeah, but this is where I think it's interesting, because I think all those figures are kind of, from the 20th century. And I think now what you think is so profoundly, it's so profoundly paranoid. There's a
Yeah.
there's a there's a little meme I'm obsessed with at the moment that says, "You are a victim of your own mind,"
Oh, yeah.
which completely staggers me. The kind of depths of paranoia and anxiety that bring to bear. So I think these ideas like this, like McLuhan saying when I spit. I mean, no one could say that now. No one could utter that. The
Yeah.
idea that as you speak, you think. I don't think anyone would agree with that now, or feel that anyway,
Well, no,
except for
that's
maybe someone like Jordan Peterson or someone, but
Jordan Peterson. Yeah. He's
but
a McLuhan wannabe if there ever was
yeah,
one.
exactly. But I
But
don't. Yeah,
going back, like you said, now I love you putting this a space-time continuum. William Blake says we become what we behold. So
yes,
if you grab onto that anxiety, as you said, or the word concerns in the morning, then that's what you are. So you're a victim of your own mind, but you're also the you're the what does cybernetics mean? You're the guy who's steering the ship.
yeah. No,
So
I
you're
agree.
steering
I
the ship.
agree.
It's not like victim is victim and trauma are the heavy words now. So
Yeah.
anyway, this is Chomsky.
Okay.
Oh, no. I skipped this one. This would be more important.
Okay.
Can humans think without language?
Um, no, but
Very-
they can be without language.
They can be, but not think. That is
Yes.
good. Okay. Everybody says, yes, we can think without language. That's what babies are doing. But really, I'm after answers, Mark, that I kind of think are more the answer. But I
Yeah.
want people to tell me what they think.
Yeah.
And when someone says that, like, can we think without language? And you say, no, we can be without language. I say, there's no right or wrong answers, but that one you got right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think that a lot. I think, yeah, language, thinking is language, language is thinking. It's a technology, right?
Yeah.
And
There you go.
but we could be in the world without it, but we'll never know.
We'll never know because we never were, except, well, anyways, there's that phenomenon that New Yorker magazine tackled a few issues ago. I'm curious. Can the baby have dreams inside the womb, or are dreams you have to have experience outside the womb to have a dream? Which one do you lean a little more towards?
Oh, I think babies dream about where they've come from.
They're
They,
dreaming inside the womb.
yeah, they're carrying the dreams of where they've just arrived from.
Yeah.
The idea that babies don't dream is it's so deadening. I find that really. I think that's such a dull idea. Of course, they're dreaming. Baby dreams are the best.
Yeah. But the thing is, the baby doesn't pop out of the womb and go, Mom, you wouldn't believe what I was dreaming last night.
Yeah.
It can't speak for 3 years, so does it remember? Dude, 3 years ago, I had a dream when I came out of your womb, and I gotta tell you about it because now I have words. And guess what? Words can't describe dreams.
No, words can't describe a baby's dream. No.
They can kind of describe a dream. You can your children probably tell you their dreams and they do it with words, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But no, you can't describe a baby's dreams. And I think maybe babies. Here's a thought: maybe babies, when they come into the world, are either in the midst of a good dream or a bad dream,
Yeah.
and that determines, you know, the early years of their life. Like my two kids, one came out kind of anxious and closed, and the other came out completely open and just ready for the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe
Amazing.
one was in the midst of a good dream and one somewhere else, you know.
That's
I like the
Robin.
idea of baby streaming. I'm taking with
Oh,
this
I love
idea.
it. I'm glad you said that, because Robin Williams, the comedian, called it womb service. In
Right, okay.
Captain Beefheart, when he came out, he says, "I'm going back in."
Yeah, exactly.
We
Yeah,
spent 9 months trying to get out, and the rest of our lives trying to get back in.
exactly. I go with that, definitely.
Here's Chomsky: a language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
Whoa, I think this is kind of where we're at right now. There's a term I came across that I'm going to struggle to kind of say correctly, but I think it's doxastic voluntarism, and it basically means that you kind of volunteer your own truth, your own reality,
Yeah.
and you make a choice. You choose a reality, and that's the one that you accept, and you don't accept any others. So I think what Chomsky was referring to then is this is, yeah, I think this is the tangle we're in
Yeah.
at this very moment. It's like choices are being made. It's maybe it's like capitalism has finally kind of made an incursion into that very idea of language, you know, and language is a kind of reality making, and so you know you make choices. You have consumer choice, what your reality is. You know, I find that idea really really worrying.
Yeah. I like you. I appreciate you turning me on to that term, dodastic voluntarism.
Doxastic, I think it is.
Oh,
DOXAST, something like that. Look at
yeah.
it. Yeah, good. I mean, I
Well,
just
look,
get it through
because
Wikipedia, you know.
Robert Anton Wilson called it, I think, reality tunnels. Like you look at a reality, and then the subgenius say, pull the wool over your own eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Are your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
I would say I'm getting distracted now, Mike, because my family's coming. Maybe I should go upstairs. Would it work if I, or would
Sure.
it be too?
No, you can
Because I
go
think
upstairs.
Lizzie's got to stop cooking, and I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah. No, do what you need to do.
Can we have a 2-minute break, and I'll just run upstairs?
Yeah, and I'll just talk. I'm not gonna turn off. Don't turn off. Just
Okay. All right.
do whatever
Okay.
you have
Great.
to do.
All
Yeah.
right. I'll see you in a minute.
Yeah.
All right. I'll run upstairs.
So
Yeah.
I'll
It's a lot
just
easier.
tune people in to the fact that Mark can be viewed on YouTube,
Are you gonna eat with us or not?
and
Maybe something else.
you can see the many films and videos he's made on
Just turn it
YouTube,
off down here.
and you can also
Yeah, you need to carry him up with you.
go to Google, type
Oh my god, I
in
can't
the
do it.
interview,
Yeah.
and read many of the interviews he's done over the years about his art. And I do highly recommend watching Mark's films on
That's what
YouTube.
I do.
What?
Incredible
Yeah.
video art, and we will get into talking to Mark about this
I'm still in this, baby.
of the moving image art form. He is in London, and we are going to delve deep into this creative process, what the artist does and what the artist thinks about when he's making his art. Yeah.
I'm back.
Very good, Mark. Well, that was cool.
Sorry, apologies. It's
no apology. No, that's all good, man. In fact,
it's early evening here, and the kids are there, family.
yeah,
Everyone's got to eat. I work down in the studio. I work in the kitchen, which drives my partner crazy. But that's where I like to be, which in some way maybe answers the question you just asked, which is that I like working in a domestic setting
yeah,
because I don't know, then I can feel more. I don't
yeah,
want to think when I'm
yeah,
making work. I mean, there's a there's a kind of lead up where there's a lot of thinking, a lot of thought, but at some point I just want to feel what I'm doing.
yeah,
And I want to be kind of almost made stupid
yeah.
by the process of work. I'm just, yeah, I want my brain to kind of stop. So yeah, maybe that answers that question.
That answered that question really well. And here's two questions from Alan Turing in the 50s. First one is thinking a function of the soul?
Just thinking a function of the soul. That I'm trying to think of that through AI actually. Just thinking a function of the soul. If you think of it through AI, then no, right? And I think fundamentally, I don't believe it is. No.
That is anticipating the second Turing question, Mark. Can machines think?
Yes, I think they can.
Yeah.
But it's, the question of consciousness and the rest of it, but they can think. I think, yeah, thinking is very technical.
Yeah.
I think that's basically where I come down in it. It's a technology, isn't it?
Well, you anticipate next question. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
I think creating it.
Yeah.
I think we're creating it constantly. It's a sort of becoming, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
a continuous becoming and a kind of a feedback loop. It's yeah, it's not a kind of substrate or a constant.
Yeah. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Eek. Oh, I think you can have both.
Well, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, he said, meaning tends to last and happiness doesn't tend to last. What do you
No,
think of that?
I don't agree.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the most happiest meaning.
There you
That's
go.
that's no, I mean genuinely. I don't,
Yeah.
I'm so in the art world at the, for the last 10, 20 years, there's been this kind of a sort of paranoid reading. It's
Yeah.
basically, you understand the world in this very kind of paranoid way, and you try to uncover power
Yeah.
and untruths. And I found out the other day that I didn't even know this, but there's the opposite of paranoia is metanoia. Is that right?
I'm learning a new word. I love it. I'm gonna look it up.
So
Metanoia.
instead of kind of suspicion and the kind of sense of
Yeah.
protectiveness, you go so you're going in, you go out, you move
Yeah.
out into the world. And as you go out into the world, you find more meaning,
Yeah.
and you find meanings that are more, nourishing and sustaining.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a paranoid state, even if I'm right.
That's right. Very good.
I'd,
That's
I'd rather,
again, that's
and
pull the wool over your own eyes.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, I don't, no, neither is more delusional than the other. I don't
there you.
believe that. Yeah.
I
So,
agree. Well, what's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
oh, I've no concept of the speed of light. Speed of thought is who I was listening to someone talking about this the other day. Is it I'm gonna get the name wrong, isn't it? It's Bergson, Henri Bergson, is that right? The
Yeah,
philosopher?
Andre Bergson. Yeah,
Yeah, and he talked about this idea that thought or not or when you know something, it's always after, right?
yeah,
So that there's a delay.
yeah,
You're looking back in order to know something that you've just
yeah,
experienced. So thought's pretty slow in that situation then.
yeah.
Thought's kind of quite ponderous and it's a what do they call it? Latency, right?
Latency.
It's a kind of
You,
latency to it, yeah.
you're a wordsmith. Did you grow up a reader?
No, I'm a full-on autodidact. I get a lot of these words wrong.
Uh,
And
that's
I
all right.
like
If we met at a cocktail party, Mark, I would like corner you and I want you to tell me everything you know, and then I want to tell you everything I know. And that's what Bob Dylan said, never tell anyone everything you know.
no, no. You've
And he
always got to
got it from the Bible, so it's like, uh-oh. So no, that was good. I like it because there's another guy, philosopher, who said we live life walking forward, but in order to understand it, you got to walk backwards.
Yep,
You
very
know,
much.
so
Yeah,
that
definitely.
delay thing,
Yeah.
that's what McLuhan called the resonating interval. It's the
Ah,
gap or the in-betweenness that's resonating. That's where the action is. It's not knowing
yes.
something or not knowing it. It's the in between trying to figure out, is there something I'm supposed to know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so Audre Lorde, the poet, said, you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Yvonne Rainer said, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest?
Oh, this that one completely flummoxes me because I know that quote well, and it's used a lot in the art world. It's a kind of given,
Yeah,
and I found myself so confounded by it that I just move around it as if it never existed.
that's smart because Frank Zappa said, "Who are the brain police?" It's similar. He
Yeah,
asked he asked it as a question. He didn't say the brain police are the consumer capitalists or the brain police are the voice inside your head. He said, "Who are?" He just asked a question. But I
yeah,
think Audre Lorde is talking about white supremacy.
yeah,
Really,
definitely.
it's what I'm saying. I open some of these questions with cute quotes. It doesn't mean you have to apply them. The basic thing I'm asking is, what tool do you most gravitate towards? You can add the word new if you want, and you can add
Right.
dismantling the master's house if you want.
Yeah. Again, I find that sort of tools that I use. This is where I do become sort of paranoid, actually,
Yeah,
about tool use.
yeah,
Um, I'm forever unsure or doubtful about anything that I'm doing in that sense. I mean, I guess tools I would use would be in some way I guess I use class as a tool. And what I mean by that is that there is a there's a kind of there's an experience I had as growing up in a working class environment that doesn't doesn't fit with the world I'm in now.
Yeah.
And I can, and that can turn against me, obviously, but other times it can be a useful,
Yeah.
weapon in some
Yeah.
ways, right? Yeah, or a utility anyway. It's something I can use. I can use that. So yeah, maybe that's what Audre Lorde meant in some ways about,
Really good.
yeah.
It's a smart answer, Mark, because it's like McLuhan says everything we invent has services and disservices. So you laid it out. The fact that this thing of class existed in your life and now it's shifted and it still is there, that it has services and disservices. It's
Yeah.
not saying good or bad.
No.
It's that you can flip a disservice into a service.
Yes.
So what new toy do you suggest? What toy do you gravitate towards?
What is going on?
I just tried to get my slippers.
Oh, come on. I came in here to get away from you.
Go upstairs. I just came to get my slippers. You're in the house, love. There's stuff going on.
There's, they're all coming in. They're following me wherever I go.
Yeah.
What?
Mark, tell them thanks for turning the light on because that was better.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, I
But
should
it
have
is
done that.
also it also could be the toy is your family. That's your
My
that's
toy.
your playfulness because you smiled. You didn't get mad at them. You were smiling.
They are my toy. They're my favorite. They are my favorite toy. I can't believe that I got such a fabulous present. It's yeah, they are like yeah. That's quite funny to think of them like that. What is my favorite toy? I guess this is, and by this I'm kind of gesturing towards the laptop.
Yeah.
That is ultimately my favorite toy. And again, what you last said about service and disservice,
Yeah.
of course, but ultimately it's the toy that I use daily, and it allows me to, again, rewinding back to a lot of these questions, it's a kind of thinking machine. I think through it.
Amazing. Because when YouTube started, like 15 years ago, there was a front page of New York Times that says you can watch a Parliament Funkadelic video on your laptop. I'm like, holy shit! I've like collected every album by them. I'm like, uh-oh, I'm not going to touch that. So I tell my friend, and he says, dude, why'd you tell me about YouTube? I got trapped in it. I was
Yeah.
in the rabbit hole. And then for 10 years, I made a YouTube the year it came out, but I never watched it. Not at all. I says, no way, don't get me near there. And now I'm trapped. I just
Yeah.
fucking watch YouTube shit all the time. And some of this is the stupidest fucking shit in the world. And some of it's amazing. Like I could watch all these interviews with you. I could watch your main film that broke you, like the entire thing. It was amazing to sit there and watch that and not like, go, well, it's on Vimeo and I don't put it on YouTube because, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, just put it on. So anyways, I like that.
Yes.
The treating the laptop as a toy. Yeah. So, what do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Oh, honest answer right at the moment is I just turned 60 and I feel the pressures of money and health.
Yeah.
Money and health in the most kind of like boring way I could have ever imagined. It's just like, oh shit, is this it? Is this what being old is? Money and
Dude,
health.
you're young. You're young. I'm 70, man. And
Yeah, well,
my shit's totally fucked up. I can't think. I got, I think I can, but yeah, I'm trying to survive. But here's the question you really touched on before. The word worry came up when my mom died, and at her wake service, I said, there's a lot of people in this room who worried that Dolores worried too much, because the basic question is, what's the difference between worry and concern? Because
Yes.
really, aren't you just concerned about your health and you're concerned about money? Or are you like worrying? Then people go, the cliche is worry's bad for you, concern's good. Really?
Right.
Like,
Right.
how do you differentiate worry and concern?
Oh my gosh. I think I'd be with those people who go that you just mentioned. I mean, I like the word fretting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I fret, and
Fretting.
fret is different from worry, and it's certainly different from concern. It's something else. It's like fretting is just, it sounds a bit like knitting. It's like your brain, it's like your mind is kind of knitting a worry.
Yeah.
That's what fretting is.
You're keeping busy, and that's
Yes, exactly. It keeps you busy. Fretting
it
is
keeps
very
you busy.
busy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's almost like, I can't wait to do the etymology on the word fret, but that was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
yeah.
Be interesting, wouldn't it?
So, McLuhan learned from Ezra Pound, the poet, that artists are the antenna of the race. They're
Yes.
broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Mark, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
That's I don't know if artists are broadcasting it to us anymore. I mean,
Yeah,
all right, the difference now from when, because I know that passage you're talking about, and I've thought about it in some way, and I think the difference now is that the broadcast is immanentized.
yeah,
It's in the technology that's talking about the technology. You know, artists are no longer kind of pointing at these things or kind of alerting us to it. It's like we're in it. And I don't know if art's the best place. I don't know if those antennas are any longer in the art world.
yeah,
I think the antennas now are like in, in TikTok or in,
yeah.
YouTube or whatever. They're not, I don't think artists are those antennas anymore. I think that
That's
I think they have a different maybe have a different purpose, or they have to come to a different purpose. But that idea, yeah, that idea that somehow, because it also suggests something of the kind of avant-garde, right? That they're sort of
yeah.
in advance, and I don't art hasn't been in advance of culture in a long time.
It's really amazing what you said because I went to Occupy protest once, and a kid had a T-shirt on it said, "The Matrix was a documentary." And
Yes.
then the other day, we were talking, and this guy said the Blade Runner. He says, "Yeah, you could have a T-shirt. Blade Runner was a documentary." Yeah.
Well,
But that
isn't
we're sort
go on,
of
sorry.
touching on that. Yeah,
Isn't Blade Runner, isn't the original one, uh, you know, 2020 or something? Isn't that where
yeah,
it's
something
set?
like that.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're already we're in it. We're gone.
we're
Um,
past.
we're past it. That's what the phrase I was looking for. Yeah,
But
I think yeah.
it's like Duchamp, Marcel Duchamp said, artists of the future will only have to point. And when you said pointing at things, I immediately went to that idea that, that's what art is. I mean, to me, there's nothing post Duchamp, that as soon as Duchamp happened, you got good Duchamp wannabes like
Yes.
Andy Warhol, Damien Hirst, and Mike Kelly, and Eva. They're all just pointing. Now
Yeah,
they're
well,
selective,
yeah.
they're curating. You could say they're curating what they point at. And I mean, you being a found footage filmmaker, that's just like I'm pointing at those clips.
Yeah, I've definitely pointed in my time, but I try because I think the problem is as the internet has kind of like I say, just absorbed everything. You know, the things you're pointing at are already there.
Yeah.
They're already, someone else is already pointing at them. So what you end up in the art world or in art colleges is that you're pointing at something that someone else is. So it just becomes recursive, right?
Yeah.
It's just it, and you know, and Mike Kelly, Duchamp, whatever, you know, they were pointing to the margins. They were pointing to this.
Yeah.
They were pointing to some, you know, esoteric kind of to the hidden, right?
Yeah.
And nothing is hidden in that way anymore. Everything's there. Everything's visible. Everything's kind of like
Yeah.
accessible. So it's not the same job anymore. It's not, the role of the artist is completely changed. And I think maybe going back to Duchamp, this is what I started thinking. I think it's more interesting now to look at Duchamp as a kind of as a kind of mystic or a Catholic
Yeah.
mystic.
Yeah.
And you know, and that the acts, the you know, the urinal is this act of transubstantiation, right? Which it
Yeah.
literally is. It's literally just following it to the letter. So, you know, I got bored of Duchamp. Being in the art world is just it gets
Good.
it
I
gets
need
quite
to
it
I
gets
need
it
to
gets
hear
quite
that.
exhausting.
Yeah,
So
I need to hear that, Mark. He's on my pedestal. You know, it's like Duchamp, Zappa, and McLuhan and Joyce, man. Those are my guys. And I love when
right,
people this one guy goes once, Duchamp's no, he says McLuhan's dead. But what you said was, you know, the urinal, saying that the urinal is that's what we call the toilet, the throne.
the throne, yeah, yeah. He dethroned it, yeah.
Yeah, but I want to go back to the question though, is when artists were the intent of the race, why did humans ignore them in general? I
Okay,
mean,
all right, okay.
yeah, like I mean, why did or you know, there is some it doesn't have to be the rule of the land, but people tend to not get what the artist might have intended or might be revealing. Like I talk about Wizard of Oz as the Wizard of Us. And
Right.
and what it is Dorothy's told to go get the broom, which is the writing utensil, skywriting, create the disease and offer the cure. And
Yeah,
she's get the broom and then you'll get home. Well, what does
right.
she do? She takes the broom to the wizard, and what does the Toto dog, the atomic dog, do? He pulls back the curtain and reveals the wizard's a scam. That
Yeah.
the emperor's wearing no clothes, and that's what the artist is. The artists are Totos. We pull the curtain back. I mean, it's romanticizing it, but you know what I'm
It's
saying. So
well,
why?
yeah, but it's funny because like I mean, you don't really hear it so much anymore, but the gripe against contemporary art you get in the UK is, you know, if there's some review of a show on like The Guardian or whatever, in the comments below, it'll always say, "Oh, the Emperor's new clothes," right?
Right.
The Emperor's new clothes. That's like the favorite. Like they just thought of that. So the Emperor's New Clothes is like reversed. It's more. It's like the artists are the scammers, right?
Yeah.
This is, you know, and that's, you know, I think that's part of the reason why they're not listened to. That they're seen since Duchamp as a kind of scam artist, and
Totally.
you know,
It's charlatan, coyote.
charlatans, all the rest of it. But
Yeah.
also, I think they are listened to, and it's more like, you know, I was just reading a book about medieval marginalia, you know, the
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
and I think the relationship's more like that. It's
Yeah.
like it's the artists were in the margins,
Yeah.
and you know, as much as you tried to kind of ignore them or kind of believe that they were tricksters or whatever, that they nevertheless were visible. You know what I mean? You could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but I
I
don't.
like
I think all of this has really changed. I think it's a
yeah.
very different landscape now. I think art that we're talking about is the 20th century, and it never really made it into the 21st century. It's sort of staggered along a bit in a kind of zombie fashion, but it's not those kind of those ideas of an artist are not kind of current anymore. It's
Yeah.
it's a different.
Well,
It's a
we're going to get into this, Mark, but I have a few
okay.
more background philosophical questions. But that
Okay.
was really amazing what you taught me there. It's really important. I need to hear that because you calling Duchamp a Catholic mystic. That's what McLuhan really scammed everybody. He converted to Catholicism after this Canadian dude went to Cambridge, studied new criticism, in 34 and 35. Then Finnegan's Wake comes out in 39, and like he's known as a charlatan in America and most academia because even though he got in a Woody Allen film and he got the
Yeah.
cover of Newsweek, the guru of TV, he was a literature guy, but
Yeah.
my favorite line ever is my friend said, McLuhan converted to Catholicism as a performance art piece.
Nice. Nice. I do. Yeah. I sort of agree. I think there was something correct about McLuhan converting to Catholicism. It made. I mean, I think he's neglected
Yeah.
but that conversion made everything that he'd said even more interesting to me.
Yeah.
It kind of gives it more depth, I think.
Yeah.
You know.
Very good. Yeah. Then do artists have moral obligation?
Oh, here's another. This is, I mean, at the moment, art is very moral.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a current kind of like way of thinking that I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but it's basically an idea that artists have moved from this position of kind of, like we just said, like tricksters, some kind of outsiders, um, and now they've moved into the center because the center is kind of like collapsed in some way.
Yeah.
And now artists are the ones kind of upholding morality, ethics. They're the ones who are trying to establish order. It's like the positions switch completely. They're no longer the disruptor. The disruptors are in Silicon Valley. So now the artists are the kind of like healers and the kind of the carers. Care is a big thing. It's hard to say with my accent. Care, CARE,
Yeah.
is a big part of the current sort of discourse around art.
Self-care, they go. Did you take care of yourself?
Well,
Self-care.
it's care, but it's also care as it applies to, getting back to like when you were talking the Chomsky quote. It's about
Yeah.
caring about community, about
Yeah.
language, about all these things that kind of the social. You know what I mean? It's a kind of social care. So
Yeah.
there's, I don't, for someone my age who's kind of, I went to see a Mike Kelly show last night. There's
Really?
a Mike Kelly show just opened at the Tate, and it's peculiar to see it because it doesn't fit now, in a very short period.
Right. I could imagine. I went to school with Mike and I interviewed
Oh,
him
did
with
you?
interviewed him with all these questions twice. And
Right.
we could talk about him for hours, but the basic line I love is in his New York obituary, and I was pissed when he committed suicide. I didn't
Yeah.
know him that well, but I knew him. And
Yeah.
I said, dude, you're too smart to commit suicide. I was,
Yeah.
but we don't know the whole thing.
No.
And he, in the obituary in the New York Times, said one art critic said his art made me feel soiled.
Yes.
That's like, what? Do people want to go feel that way from art? They want art to coddle them or even maybe make them think but not make them feel soiled. And it goes back to, do artists have moral obligation? Louis Buñuel's one of my favorite filmmakers. He has street punks beating up a blind guy in Los Olvidados. Now, is that...
I'll come in a minute. Go downstairs, love. I'll come in a minute. Okay. You have to be quiet because I'm talking to Gerry.
Hey,
sorry,
nice
Gerry.
to meet you. What's your name?
What's your name, baby?
Romy.
Romy.
Romy, what is the best thing for a human being?
What's the best thing for a human being?
Uh,
What do you think?
we
We
have sleepovers.
sleepovers.
Oh, sleepovers. That is the best. Harry
That's the
Smith
best.
said cinema was invented to put you to sleep.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm with
and that's when you sleep, it's like you're having the best movie. You're sharing the
Exactly.
best movie with your friends.
Baby cakes. You have to go downstairs, lovey. I've got to do this. It's Daddy's work. Go on. You have to go downstairs, love. Come on. Come on. Be a good kid. Wow.
Don't worry.
I'll
Mark.
come down in a minute. I won't be long. All right. I'll come down and we'll watch something together. Okay. Go on. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Don't worry, Mark. You got to hear this. I tried to interview Wayne Kramer, the guitarist from
Oh, yeah.
MC5, one of my heroes growing up for 20 years. And I finally interviewed him. He just died about a year ago.
Yeah.
Within the last year, but about a year and a half ago, I interviewed him. And as I'm interviewing him, same thing. His kid comes in and he goes, "Oh, Daddy's working right now." And the kid goes, "I just want to give you a hug." And I was like crying. I was like, this is amazing. I love it when the kid and how the how the parent want, how do you handle that? It's beautiful what you're doing. But,
Well, I said she's my toy, so I just want to play with her. Right. Come on.
but it
All right,
is
that's it.
it is this phenomenon. What is our
Hold on one second. Lizzie, can you come and get her? Come on, baby. Come on. I need to do this, love. It's no, you can't pull songs. That's just rude. Go on. Gerry's in another country far away and he hasn't got much time. No. Go on.
I'm due to do a sleepover.
Yeah, sleepover.
I'm due to do
I like that answer.
Yeah. But no worries, Mark. And it was beautiful, actually. It was like a total performance art piece. We don't need to go to any museum and see Mike Kelly.
No. But I think Mike, it's very sort of very moral. It's a very moral artist,
Very, very moral, and it's spooky how he wanted to. That's why I was going to have an event where I've asked 5 people really close to Mike, why did he commit suicide? And I got all kinds of answers. Well, a breakup with a woman, or the art world killed him, or blah, blah, blah. And you know what? If Mike left a note, and he could have, and said, "This is why I'm committing suicide," that might not even have been the real reason.
No.
He might not be able to answer why he did it. He might have said, "Dude, I delivered my goods. I'm out of here."
Yeah.
So, it's complex, but the moral obligation thing you handled well. I appreciate that. And it's almost flipped where now we look to the artist for morality.
Yes.
Listen, my opinion, Mark, is great art fucks your shit up and says to you, "I can do this." And it frees you to say, "Oh, I can splash paint on a canvas."
I think I mean, yeah, I would kind of agree. I think you need a figure that is I mean, see, I even hesitated to say, I was going to say transgressive,
Yeah.
But you need that transgressive figure. You need this kind of someone who's willing to be outside of society
Yeah.
and and um and I don't think I do this at all in what I do, but I kind of I miss those figures because I
Yeah.
think, but I think they, you know, I think they were, the more we move away from the 20th century, the more I see it as this like very particular time. It's like, we kind of measure everything by that, but actually it's this very weird anomaly, and
Yeah.
it's got something more in common with like the medieval era than it has with, you know, the modern.
Yeah.
I think it was quite an extraordinary time, and it threw up all this kind of weirdness and these kind of extremes. And I don't, and you could say point to now, obviously, and say now is more extreme, but it's kind of um that kind of, though, I think art had a place in the 20th century that I don't think it's going to find in the same way in this one.
Yeah. You really helped me rethink all this because, first of all, you evoked one of McLuhan's book titles, From Cliche to Archetype.
All
And,
right, okay.
I just wrote an essay called Can Art Stop War? And people are like, no, art can't stop war. And that's like your moral thing. It's like, I'm not trying to be moral. I'm trying to say we're probably not hardwired for war and violence, though everybody's brainwashed to believe we can, because Maria Gimbutas and Rian Eisler have written about there were societies that were matristic civilization. The women give birth. We're more hardwired to be cooperative and give birth than we
Yeah.
are to fight. But
Yes.
what you were saying reminded me of the line that both Warhol and McLuhan said is art is anything you can get away with. And when I said that once, my friend goes, that sounds like Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like,
Uh,
that's not funny. But then Abby Hoffman stole it and he said, revolution is anything you can get away with. So then it is like, where are we when McLuhan defines art as being counter environmental?
right.
Counter environmental, then what is it now? It's I don't want to get into it yet, but it's the word, when did the art market start? We were discussing that today, and so I googled it in the middle of the discussion and it said 5 BC. There's a Greek vase where a kid is buying a vase from another person, and it's like, oh no, because we want to think. Marshall's favorite line is the Balinese have no word for art. They do everything as well as they can.
Well, there's that, but there's also, the modernists, the
Yeah.
early impressionists,
Yeah.
um, you know, they established the art market in the need to escape the church, right?
Exactly.
So
That's
they,
what I
they
was.
moved to commerce in order to be free,
Yes.
which is, you know, it's not where we've ended up now,
No.
but I think you have to understand the kind of the sort of mechanism of it, or the kind of desire and the initial kind of like impetus. Yeah,
That was good. Mark, that's like the Catholic Church. I was raised a Roman Catholic and I never really checked out. And everybody's like, are you kidding? And they're the biggest real estate company in the world. And they own stock in IG Farben, who invented the birth control pill. So it's like create the disease and offer the cure. So there's a
yes,
lot of irony going on there. But
yeah.
I love what you taught me about that. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Oh, I'm more afraid of old ideas.
Yeah.
Old ideas. Getting back to this sort of autodidactic thing. I really struggle. Like when I went to art school, they suddenly out of nowhere introduced critical theory, like
Yeah.
French critical
Yeah.
theory, and could not in any way kind of grok it. I couldn't apprehend it at all. Couldn't understand it. And it kind of inculcated in me a kind of anxiety about philosophy and kind of critical thinking. I kind of, I don't know what the equivalent of dyslexia is, but there's a kind of weird, sort of a word scrabble when I look at
Yeah.
kind of, if I try and read Kant or someone, it just brings me out in kind of anxiety. I just get anxiety trying to read it. So I definitely older ideas. I kind of it's just I guess it's the weight of them, the kind of and the sense that if I don't understand the foundations of these things, then I will never be able to kind of like build my own cathedral, So
Beautiful.
those things always but what I've started doing more recently is like reading sort of, around theology, and I
Yeah.
find that a lot. I find I can understand that,
Beautiful.
and a lot of the similar idea, like one of the things I was reading about is like negative theology, like apophatic theology.
Yeah.
This idea of kind of you can only approach God negatively, right?
Hmm.
I know, though, and that I was completely. I was like, that's exciting. I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
But
What Wed
if I read Nietzsche, who I think said something
Yeah.
very similar, I'd kind of I'd start, my heart would start racing or something. I wouldn't be able
Wow.
to.
No, what I like about you, Mark, is you're able to express to me what anxiety is, because like I don't have dyslexia, I have Lexdixia. But if Camille Paglia is the same way. She feels the same way about the French people, all the French critical guys. And
Yeah.
but believe me, that's again, they have services and disservices. But see, you're able to express it. That's what I appreciated when I first
Right.
heard you talking. You can express it. It doesn't mean you need it or you have to learn it. It's that you can express how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And
But
so,
that's after, that's after. I mean, I just thought, I just look back and think, what a crazy program that was to kind of introduce like art
yeah,
students who undergrads who'd gone there to like paint and draw to like Derrida, at the age of 19. It's like, I
that's
just
good.
seems it's
Well, have you read, but in your new recent reading practices, have you read Thomas Merton, Merton?
I've heard the name, but
Yeah, anyways,
yeah.
check them out. There's a lot of people who are like that, but again, it's poets or whatever. But can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Uh, I am notoriously without any memory till quite late in my life. Like my part, Lizzie, she can remember or recall things when she's 3 or even 2. She
Yeah,
claims.
yeah.
My earliest memories are like when I'm 8 or 9.
Well, name one memory from 8. What do you remember? Just briefly, what is it?
Well, I actually put it in a video. So one of the things I remember. This is this is kind of interesting. Well, I think it's interesting. So when I was about 8 or 9, my mum had a friend who was like, this is in the early 70s, and she was like a 60s Dolly Bird, but in this, the kind of continued into the 70s. So she had like a big hair, big kind of
Yeah,
beehive hair,
yeah,
tight dresses, corsets, all of it. And I used to go, if my mum went round to her house, I'd go and sleep up in the bedroom. They'd go to a party, my mum and dad, and I'd go and sleep upstairs. And one time, this friend of my mum, who we called Auntie, came into the room, thought I was asleep, and got changed. And I saw her in a lingerie, in her underclothes,
yeah,
and it was the first erotic experience I ever had.
Yeah.
and it's also my earliest memory. And all right, so there's two things that I think come out of that. One is it sort of set me up as a kind of essentially a fetishist for the rest of my life. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I was scarred for life in some way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I shouldn't have seen that. But then the other thing is I made this video called Dream English Kid, where I was trying to evoke all these memories. And I've again, getting back to reading, I've never read Freud. And then I found out that Freud had this notion of the screen memory, which is
Yeah.
basically a kind of a picture, an image that you carry in order to hide the reality, or the traumatic reality of what actually happened.
Yeah.
And so this thing that I thought that I've carried around as a kind of truth, now I'm like, when I read that, I thought, oh shit, yeah, that's
Yeah.
not what happened at all.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened, but it probably wasn't that, you know.
That's really good. It reminds me of McLuhan said the mother is pushing the baby buggy down the street with her baby. And the guy comes up and looks in and says, "What a beautiful baby." And the mother goes, "You should see her picture."
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah. Mark,
definitely.
is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Oh, well, again, it's memory. You know, we're in a very nostalgic era, and I think part of that is that memories become entirely prosthetic, right?
Yeah.
It's like we've completely abstracted it out of ourselves,
Yeah.
and you know, it's just become these huge data banks.
Yes.
So memory is growing, but it grows outside of us, like in a vat.
Yeah.
So yeah, memory at the moment, it's this point where will we get to the point where memory is no longer contained whatsoever within us? You know,
Yeah.
so memory is both, it's it's produced from you, but it's more and more it's coming from outside than it's coming
Yeah.
from within. Yeah.
Really good. Tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, kind of like a role model, and what specifically was the impact?
I have a very I've told this before but it's so pertinent to this, I think. So my mum remarried, and I didn't particularly, I get on with him now, but when they first remarried, I was 17, 18, and I wasn't very happy with him being in the house. And I was acting out a lot. I was unemployed. I was like getting into trouble. I was running a gang and all sorts of stuff. And he was kind of my mum was despairing about me. Anyway, one day he sat me down and he was like he's like a dock worker, right? He's a dock worker, but of that time when being a dock worker meant that you were the union, you'd got some education through the union. You know, you'd learn, he understood Marx. He kind of, he had a political education through the union. And so he sat me down and he said, look, everything you can draw, right? I used to draw as a kid all the time. And he was like,
Yeah.
you can draw. I've seen your drawings. It's like everything in this room. We were in the living room, and he said, everything within this room, someone initially drew this up.
Yeah.
It started with a drawing, and it's like, and you have that ability to do that. And I was like, from there, I literally went on a path to go to art school from that.
That's an amazing story, Mark.
Yeah,
Then
it's great. Yeah.
the same question outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact outside your immediate family, and what was that impact?
Then I would say it was Gavin Brown, who's my gallerist and my friend.
Yeah.
I don't know, more than a friend, he's my best friend. And I met him, and at the time, this is when I came to America. I was talking about earlier coming to America, and I don't know, I just had nothing but bad luck and disappointment in London. And then I came to London. I came to America, met Gavin, and I don't know, the world opened up for me through him. I just, he gave me confidence to think about becoming an artist. It gave me access to things that I had no access to before. Just, changed my life, really. If I hadn't met him, things would have been a lot different.
Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
No, we're like my family. My family's from Belfast. My grandparents. We're like, we're like Ulster Unionists, basically.
Yeah.
The non-sexy Irish.
Yeah.
So we were kind of Protestants and didn't. I went to Sunday school and stuff like that. I grew up, with a lot of Catholics, but we were very non-religious in comparison.
Do you pray?
No, I don't, but I'm moving. I don't know. I'm thinking about this a lot. I had this experience at the end of lockdown where all the restrictions were kind of, when they first started lifting the restrictions in the UK, and the little girl who just came in, Romy, she was only a baby, and I was taking her out in the pram, and I was listening to Judy Sills, Jesus Was a Crossmaker.
Yeah.
And in the park by us, and the sun came through the trees, and I was just overwhelmed. I don't know. I started looking afterwards what it could be. Like I wanted to find someone else who'd experienced the same thing I had. Like a kind of, it wasn't like an epiphany, but
yeah.
Is it a theos? Is it like when you when you feel the presence of God, or I felt the presence of the divine? I'd hesitate to call it God, but I felt in the presence of the divine, and I was, and it was overwhelming and kind of it was ecstatic, but ecstatic in the true sense of the word. And there was a sort of like everything was alive. Like it felt like I was conscious of everything. I was in there. Time was both extensive and just of that moment, of that present moment. And it was kind of, I wouldn't say it was, there was a kind of, there was a sort of, it was like, I guess the sublime is the other one. It's like there was a kind of awe and a sort of, I'm hesitating to say terror. It wasn't terror, but it was also, it was too much. It was just too great. It was almost unbearable. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Mark, that was really well. You're really a wordsmith. I appreciate it, because you brought up music early, and then you said Judy Sills.
Yeah.
They asked John Cage, what's the function of music? He said, I learned from my Eastern philosophy teacher to soothe the soul and make it susceptible to divine intervention.
Yes.
And that's what you sort of found. Your soul was soothed and you had some divine intervention. So
yes.
if God does exist, what would you like God to say to you after you die? I'm glad you're laughing, Mark.
I'd like God to say to me, of all of them, you were my favorite.
That is my favorite answer ever, man. Because my wife's dad is just this amazing human, and he would go up to the three daughters literally and go, "You're my favorite." Then he'd go,
Yeah,
"You're my
exactly.
favorite."
Well, it's such a that's why I said it, because it's like it's it's thinking of God as the Father, isn't it? I
Yeah,
think I think, and that's what you want your dad to always say, right? It's my kids are
yes.
the same. I say it to my kids as a joke all the time. You're the best
Yeah.
one.
Do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Ooh, ooh. Um, the latter, yes.
Yeah.
Evil is a force that uses people. Um, yeah, I very much. I
Well,
think.
the real hidden question mark is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola
Oh,
stole from the mob. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurai. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
yeah,
JFK said, "Forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name." And Fellini says, "I need an enemy." So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy,
yeah.
empower them.
The two that I found the most interesting was the top and tail was the first one and the last one.
Fellini,
Uh,
I need an enemy. Yeah,
yeah,
the artist yesterday said, "No, I don't like the last one." So thank you. First of all, thank you for listening, because I overwhelm people with all this crap.
yeah,
And then I go, "Okay, by the way, the question is this." But I mean, like your your daughter comes home or from school or someone says, "I've been bullied." I mean, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy?
well, it's we're actually right in the middle of this now. She's got like my elder one has got a frenemy, a friend who is also,
Frenemy. Wow, that's a great word, frenemy.
yeah, she's also very bad for my daughter, very toxic.
Yeah,
So yeah, so we're trying to deal with it. And I think so that first line was don't ignore. Yes, I can see the wisdom in that you
yeah,
don't acknowledge them as an enemy. I think
yeah,
and that's what we've had to do in this situation is not, because she's done some nasty shit and you kind of want to say, what a little fuck. Um and but that ain't gonna resolve it.
it
So
ain't
so
gonna resolve it. That's it. How do you
so
resolve?
so you have to, yeah, you have to just, yeah, um I don't know, yeah, you have to look at her as humanly as you can and not as an enemy, not as but that doesn't necessarily mean sympathetically, but just I think what you said at the beginning about evil, just what's using her, what's kind of trying to, what is it that she thinks that she can get from this kind of from being this way.
Yeah,
It's like she's found this kind of energy, and it's like this, she thinks that energy is gonna kind of get her what she wants.
yeah,
um so I think you can kind of slightly detach these things, and just see the sort of,
yeah,
and then for my daughter, it's just like, well, that just you have to pull away from that, the process of that. You know what I mean? The kind of the kind of narrative, the sort of, because evil in that sense is a, it's a story. We just seen it in the UK with the sort of race riots over here, and it's literally evil as a kind of, as a whisper.
yeah,
It's just a sentence that goes out, and it ferments this kind of, you know, um, these actions, these kind of heinous actions, and it's like, so yeah, so it's like, yeah, it's like trying to understand these things as a narrative, I think, in that sense, as a story, rather than that person is psychologically disturbed, or I don't find any of that stuff is helpful.
Well, Mark, I asked for 90 minutes and we got about 10 minutes left, and I really
Okay.
appreciate the time, but I hope we can book a part 2, maybe 3,
Yeah.
4 months down the line, because I'd really like to get into art.
Yeah,
You know,
me too.
a lot deeper, but let's follow this through line with a couple more and then we're out of here. This is Nassim Taleb. He said games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. My friend said villains don't think they're bad, they want control. Heroes want freedom. And then Gregory Bateson said, when the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day? Or does he go, whoa, I did something morally and socially wrong? So again, it's a lot of prompts, but the basic question is, does punishment work?
Does punishment work? No. I mean, in answer to Gregory
Bateson, yeah. Ah. Oh, well, we got cut off. Mark was just about to comment on Gregory Bateson. We'll see if he'll pop back in. If he doesn't, his battery could have gone off, or his what do you call that? Server could have cut us off. It's really been an amazing time with Mark, and I look forward to part 2 if we don't reconnect here soon. He's probably running downstairs trying to find his power cord. Yes, indeed, the laptop is one of our favorite toys, but the hidden ground of the laptop is electricity. And that's what James Joyce wrote about in his book Finnegan's Wake. The hidden ground is, how does electricity affect us? How does it shape our behavior? Let's see if we can wait a few more minutes and see if we can rejoin Mark. If not, again, I recommend going to Mark YouTube channel and watching his films and videos. Visit his art gallery shows. Hey, no worries, Mark. I figured since you earlier said the laptop was your favorite toy, in the hidden ground with all this is electricity. Maybe your power just went up, and you had to go find your power cord. But we just got a few more minutes, and I really appreciate it because I know exactly where you cut off was in what Gregory Bateson said. I said, does punishment work? And you said no, which is funny because you got kids, and
Oh yeah.
well, yeah, that's like, but then you were going to comment on Gregory Bateson's little line there about when the criminal gets caught, does he think he did something wrong, or does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff?
Yeah, the latter, the second one, definitely.
Yeah.
I've I have criminal experience. I know, I know these things. Yeah, I think criminals always think that. It's like,
Yeah.
shit, I fucked
I
up.
I
Yeah,
fucked it up. Yeah.
yeah.
But they don't
don't.
have a so but then if punishment doesn't work, then what does work?
Well, I mean, at the moment, it's a big thing, isn't it? What do they call it? I can't remember the phrase they use now, but in the, sort of anti-incarceration, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree entirely. I mean, where I grew up, when we were young, people went to prison, and then that was their life. Their life after that was being a criminal and going in and out of prison. It's like it so transparently doesn't work. It's such a bad system, and that the punishment falls on those in society that have no opportunities and the rest of it. It's or the lowest opportunities and the poorest kind of chances. It's just again and again. It's kind of I'm talking about my experiences that are like from 40 years ago, but nothing has changed. If it's got worse, if anything. So
Yeah.
Putting people in prison is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
What the alternatives are is I don't know, because it's like the political will, but more, I guess, more so the finance, the money that it would cost to be able to kind of give people proper kind of attention. I think a lot of crime, comes out of like humiliation, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it. Is like you feel humiliated, so you either in the worst scenario you do violence, or you take property, or you break property, or whatever. But it's a lot to do with feeling the humiliation of your your environment or your situation, and so to add punishment to that just seems like
Backwards.
it just seems so cruel as well. It's just like
Cruel.
Yeah.
But you touch part two when we get rejoined sometime in the future. I'd love to explore those two things deeply, because one of the big exhibits that affected me huge by Mike Kelly was his parallels with artists and criminals. And that was like, there's a fine line between crime and art is anything you can get away with, and crime, crime and art. But then,
well, there's that side of crime, which is like, when I first came into art, like I have a friend who so my other gallerist is a guy called Martin McGowan, who lives here and runs a gallery called Cabinet Gallery. And Martin is a completely self-invented character.
Yeah.
And he kind of mentored me in the early days. And one of the things he tried to kind of instill in me is the idea that the artist as a kind of sovereign being, right?
Yeah.
A kind of self-actualized aristocrat.
Yeah.
And I think that is where you get the touching point with criminals, with good criminals. Yeah. I think criminals think of themselves as, they're above the law. They're and the law is, there's a sense that the law is kind of for other people.
Yeah, it's the history
for the idiots.
Yeah, it's the history of movies romanticizing the criminal, James Cagney and all the film noir. But then, Krishnamurti and McLuhan both said violence is the human search for identity. So when you said about crime and humiliation, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
why don't we close off with this one, Mark? And again, I look forward to part 2 because we can really delve deeper into art, and I really want to talk to you more about that intention in art and how much you think of your audience. But you brought up the word narrative. In
Right.
Hollis Frampton, great experimental filmmaker,
Yeah.
said narrative is born among the animal necessities of the spirit because we're waiting to die. So I added
Wow.
the question, can you forget to die?
Can you forget to die? I've only just grasped, like I was talking about Freud before and saying I
Yeah.
avoided him, and I still avoid him, but he creeps in. But I've only just grasped what he meant by the death drive.
Yeah.
And I think this idea of I've just been done with it. I've just been able to like void yourself of everything. I've lost the thread.
Yeah, it was basically the problem with the question is most people can't. They go, "What do you mean? Can you forget to die?" The problem is you put it whether you want to answer it metaphorically or literally.
Yeah.
Can you forget to die? Well, you mean metaphorically or lyric or
Can you forget? Can
literally?
you? I think that's what I was trying to get to. All right. So you know, it's the most. I mean, Hollis from where how did he use the word animalistic again? Where was the
Well,
animalistic?
he said it beautifully. He said,
Yeah.
narrative is born among the animal necessities of the spirit.
Yeah, animal necessities. So that, yeah, so it's you can't forget to die because that is instinct. That is the animal
Yeah.
instinct. It's the kind of it's the thing that we can't make human, you know. It kind of it eludes us in its kind of in its essential animalness. You know,
Yeah.
we die like pigs, we die like flies, we die like the rest of them.
Yeah.
Whatever we do, we still die like them, like the rest of the animals. You know.
Like there was a spider in my bathroom the other day and I knew I should have picked it up and took it out. So I pushed my foot on it and I pushed it right through the wall and made a hole in the wall. I was like, oh my God, was that instant karma or what? Like, dude, what the fuck? You fucking put a wall. You shouldn't have tried to kill an innocent spider.
Yeah.
But you know, it is amazing because we also had a discussion the other day is, you know, is it metaphorically or literally? Well, guess what? There's no difference because the word literal is a metaphor because all language is metaphorical.
Yeah.
But we sort of get a hunch, you know, you think, oh, my body's going to die. Well, no, Mark's not going to die. His daughters and wife they're going to cherish his memories whenever you die, or anybody who dies, they live on. It's a form of reincarnation. Like Paul Krasner said, I only believe in reincarnation in one of my past lives.
Nice.
But again, you know, I think everybody's forgotten to die. All our heroes, all the people that, you know, Mike Kelly forgot to die because he lives on. They're still having art shows.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
but you know, his physical body, well, you put in the context you want. You want to say, can I forget that my physical body is going to die? Or can I forget that my emotional, you know, cosmic mystical body is going to live on? Who knows? You know.
Yeah, I'm trying to resolve that. It's like ever since I was a child, I had this terror of infinity, of the eternal, and just I could never, no matter what I did, I could never convince myself away from the idea that I would continue existing in a void indefinitely,
Yeah.
or I would be conscious of time somehow.
Yeah.
And it's a very childish thought that just I could never rid myself of until recently. And again, going back to what you're saying about these things having a service and a disservice, it used to be quite useful. It used to make me feel more alive. I'd have these panic, like I'd literally have to, as a child, I'd have to run around the room to rid myself of this thought, because it was just it was just so dark and terrifying. But then afterwards, I'd feel kind of like I'd feel more alive. I'd feel more, in the world, and so I don't have that fear anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm moving towards the one I'm thinking at the moment is I like this idea of that I read of like Catholic saints who are in a state of perpetual ecstasy.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going for. I'm going for that.
Yeah.
Just like on a glitch where you're just eyes are rolling in the back of your head just forever. And this never ending, never becoming state of perpetual ecstasy. So that's what I've chosen for my death.
Dude, I'm so there with you. And I love that you had a period or a moment when you were fearing that, and then you would shake it, because that enabled you to have the epiphany and like, maybe I should strive for that. I appreciate it. And I love just saying the 3 words, in the world. I mean, that's what it's all about, is us being present, living in the moment. I mean, that's back to the guy I asked you before we started, is I think said it all. Wyndham Lewis, artist, live in the moment and write a detailed history of the future. That's be here now, live in the moment.
Right.
I mean, that's an amazing thing to say. And I don't want to say elitist like artists. Everybody should live in the moment, live in the present, because you're writing a detailed history of the future. All times are happening now.
Yes.
And we'll close off there, Mark, but because it's my favorite line by Lord Buckley, said, dig infinity.
Dig infinity. Nice.
Thank you so much, Mark. I look forward to part 2. Really
it was great, Gerry. And it's also, I lived in LA for a little bit, and I don't know, you've brought a little bit of what I miss about LA into this North London suburban home. So thanks for that.
Oh, well, thank you. I use the word dude too much.
No, it's great, man. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mark. I look forward
Cheers,
to part 2. And
yeah.
even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button, I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever.
All right.